Hi everyone, my name is Kayla Attaway and I have been asked to present on Gadani, Pakistan for the course Global Environmental Health. Gadani is a coastal town located in Lasbela District in the southern part of Balochistan along the Arabian Sea. This town has historically been home to Pakistan's largest shipbreaking yard. The purpose of the following slides will be to detail the shipbreaking industry in Pakistan starting during the early 20th century to present day, and to analyze the safety and chemical hazards that workers at Gadani shipbreaking yard endured that culminated in 2016 MT ACES blast. The main objectives of this presentation is to inform about the shipbreaking industry in Pakistan starting in the 1970s and moving on to recent events in the current day, a brief overview of the shipbreaking workers' exposures to hazardous material, and the fallout after 2016 explosion of the ship MT ACES will provide a backdrop to understand the environmental effects of shipbreaking in Gadani. Here's a table of contents which lays out the general overview of this presentation. We'll start by discussing the area occupied by Gadani's shipbreaking site. We will then move on to shipbreaking industry trends in Pakistan, common types of injuries that shipbreaking workers reported to the NGO shipbreaking platform, the hazardous materials emitted during the shipbreaking process, and the environmental impacts of open beach shipbreaking. Gadani is located on a 10-kilometer stretch of coastline, making it the third largest shipbreaking site in the world. The site has more than 314 different plots varying in size, most of which are owned by local leaders of the Balochistan Development Authority. Today, 135 of these plots have functioning breaking yards. Informal shipbreaking operations have taken place along this coastline since before Pakistan's independence in 1947. And the industry was formalized in 1978 when the government of Pakistan declared Gadani a port, reducing import duties on ships destined for shipbreaking. By the 1980s, Gadani was one of the top shipbreaking and recycling destinations in the world, employing more than 40,000 workers. Following decades of increased output in Gadani, the 1990s saw a dramatic drop in shipbreaking industry in Pakistan. Pakistan lost its competitive edge to other South Asian countries like India and Bangladesh after its Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif introduced comparatively higher taxes on the sector of industry. Additionally, in the year 1992, the United Nations Environmental Program attempted to regulate the shipbreaking industry following notable waste trafficking scandals and concerns about shipbreaking workers' health, with the adoption of the Basel Convention on the Control of Transboundary Movements of Hazardous Waste and their Disposal. Although Pakistan was party to this convention, it has not enforced its standards. Lax regulations temporarily allow the industry to recover in the 21st century. According to the chairman of the Pakistani Shipbreaking Association, Dewan Aziz Faruqi, a global increase in demand for shipbreaking resulted in markedly higher output at Gadani between the years 2012 and 2016. Gadani also often accepts older, more dangerous ships into its plots than those in India. These circumstances proved to be a fatal combination on November 1st, 2016, on the deck of MT ACES pictured to the right. The ship was to be drained of oil by shipbreaking workers, but before these operations could occur, two back-to-back explosions in the ship's engine room triggered a massive fire with plumes of thick black smoke. The Pakistani military took 3 days to put out this fire, and an estimated 26 workers died, with dozens more suffering major and minor injuries, such as broken bones and burns. As demonstrated in Figure 2, since the blast, the shipbreaking industry in Pakistan has gradually declined after both national and international backlash regarding Gadani's working conditions. Every fifth worker at Gadani has reported a previous injury, whether minor or major. As seen in Figure 3, the majority of these injuries are cuts, burns, and broken bones, with injuries resulting from contact with machinery, slips and trips, and respiratory problems making up a lesser fraction of the total reported workplace injuries. Personal protective equipment isn't used at Gadani due to a lack of availability and enforcement of PPE. Injuries also result from a lack of proper vocational training and technical education for shipbreaking workers, many of whom are migrant workers from rural Pakistan. These conditions underline the gross disregard for occupational safety hazards at Gadani. In addition to safety standards, Gadani workers are also exposed to numerous chemical hazards. Most of the chemical hazards that workers at Gadani are exposed to daily are the byproducts of hazardous materials used on ships that they are breaking. Under the previously mentioned Basel Convention, these materials are supposed to be stripped prior to the shipbreaking on Gadani's shores. However, the regulations set out in the Basel Conventions are rarely complied with, and as a result, the hazardous materials from the foreign ships are stripped from the vessels by workers at Gadani. Figure 4 lists some of the major sources of hazardous materials found in the ships, along with the environmental hazards these materials pose. Asbestos is commonly used in engine packing and insulation material in both boilers and turbines and in refrigeration pipes. The asbestos fibers are often deteriorated on old ships by the time it is broken down at Gadani, posing a potential threat if inhaled. PCBs are found in anti-freezing agents and oils, and when torch cut or burned, they generate dioxins and furans. Heavy metals are located in the batteries, paints, and chemical storage of ships. These heavy metals that create metal fumes and smoke VOCs, blasts, and residues in paint ships during the process of breaking down a ship. Oil sludge, a byproduct of the ship's oil separation process, produces hazardous bioaromatic hydrocarbon gases which evaporate, contributing to ozone depletion. Lastly, blast and bilge water used to clean and wash out contaminated water from the ships, such as lead and sulfuric acid, is released into the ocean where ships are breached, threatening the local marine ecosystem. While the environmental effects of Gadani's shipbreaking practices did not receive as much attention as the abhorrent working conditions following the 2016 blast, the long-term effects of shipbreaking on the environment have begun to gain prominence and spark interest among scientific observers. According to Jun King Choi, an associate professor and director of the Industrial Assessment Center, the shipbreaking practices in Pakistan are substandard due to the breaching method used to dismantle the ships compared to the standard dry docking method used in developed nations like the U.S. when it dismantles military ships. These substandard methods used for shipbreaking in Gadani generate far greater negative environmental impacts on the various categories examined in Figure 5 than the standard method. If Gadani could transition to a standard method of dismantling ships, the breaking of ships could transition away from having a negative environmental impact per light displacement ton, the actual weight of a ship, to a beneficial environmental impact. Now let us briefly recap what we have learned from Figures 1 through 5. Gadani has a convoluted past with shipbreaking. This coastal site was once the global hub of shipbreaking during the 1970s and 1980s, yet repeated incidents of poor worker conditions and changing political environment led to decreases in production at the Gadani shipbreaking site. Through the course of Gadani's existence is shipbreaking activities that pose workplace hazards that led to casualties of shipbreaking workers, such as the MT ACES blast in 2016. The hazardous materials that contributed to this blast and other workplace exposures have also been documented as causing negative environmental impacts. Here are the source pages with the corresponding references of the material covered in this presentation.